Hey guys, don't forget we do lives every Wednesday and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Check what day it is. Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife Kara's taking a shower, and today we are talking about the Koenig Arius Style 57 that was loaned to us by Eric from Eric_4_EDC. Thank you for letting us check out such amazing knives and even donating a knife to the channel for us to give away. If you guys want to go check him out, I will link his Instagram in the description. Now, there's a lot of information on the internet about the Koenig Arius and, Bill Koenig and everything. You can definitely look all that information up very easily and read it. This is a video about my perspective of the Koenig Arius and the good and the bad of what I think is good and bad on this knife. Now, I did not use this knife. I did not sharpen it, so it's not from a user's point of view in any way. It's basically just from me experiencing it, flipping it, and getting to check it out. I did put it in my pocket a couple times, but I did not carry it. So let's get to this amazing knife. So first up, this knife is 8.5 inches with a 3.5-inch blade. Here is a couple size comparisons. Here's the Strider SMF. Pretty close. You gotta remember the Strider has this taper back there. And then here is something a little bit smaller. Here is the Shurogurov Haitian Zero. I don't know if it's pronounced Haitian or Haitian. Somebody says it's pronounced Haitian Zero. But there you go. You can see it's bigger than that. And then here's a couple knives that I think a lot of people know the size of. Here is the Spyderco Shaman and the Benchmade Griptilian. You can see they're both a little bit smaller than it. And then here is the Spyderco Gale Bradley. They are about the exact same. If you know the Spyderco Gale Bradley, it's an 8.5-inch knife, so I think it's pretty self-explanatory with a 3.5-inch blade, which is a great EDC size, especially for a large size hand. So this knife, the blade in this one is in CTS XHP, I believe. I know I have seen them in M390, but I believe this one's CTS XHP. Titanium, heavily milled titanium, by the way. This thing has a lot of milling to the scales to bring down the weight. This one is 5.9 ounces. The designer of this knife is TJ Schwartz and then, Bill Koenig. This is a handmade USA knife. And let's just get into it. So, first up, the blade. The blade is done so well. It's amazing. So, first up, you see the hand satin finish. And it gets down to a very, very thin 9 thousandths behind the edge. This one's a flat ground blade. Taper to it is very, very well done. Beautiful, beautiful geometry. It gets down to such a thin edge at 9 thousandths. I know they do have them in hollow grinds too. I think, depending on which generation it is. But for a flat grind, this geometry is amazing. But wow, is it thin. And it does have a beautiful taper from the thinnest point right here as it slowly tapers from about this point to this point up to the tip, which has a beautiful hollow swedge. You can see how that's hollowed out right there. That is not a flat swedge, that's a hollow swedge. And then I love this machining back here. How, watch when I rotate it. This machining taper right here, that's beautifully well done. And then you see the machining right here, and then how it's a flat in front. You almost gotta hit the light with it the right way to really see the machining. Now watch when I unlock it. Look at the machining all through here, how she's beautifully tapered and well done. It's like something made from NASA. Very, very well done. The choil here is done pretty good. Now watch when I turn it, you'll really see the thinness of the edge right here. Excuse my hands, I just got done sharpening and cleaning stones and stuff. I did wash them, they're just, messed up. So the 57, from what I hear, the style 57 comes from the machining lines. As far as I know right now, like I said, this is mostly just about my impression of this knife. And yeah, I think these machining lines and this pattern is what the style 57 is. Now, the ergos are really good. I was kind of wondering when I saw all these reviews on this knife, and I seen this taper right here from thin to thick, because a hand goes from thick to thin when like when you make a fist, this is the smallest point, this is the biggest point. So I kind of wondered, like, how is this going to be in the hand being the opposite way? But what I didn't really take into consideration is this taper right here. So when you put it in your hand, this is the smallest point. So technically this point right here really just gets locked into your palm really good. And then, like, if you were cutting, the pressure would pull backwards, right? Which would make the tail end move down towards your pinky. But since it's got a nice thickness right there, you really get to lock that into your palm. So you get, a lot of leverage right there. My two fingers perfectly land right there, and it's nice and rounded and contoured right there for my fingers to wrap. And then my two fingers right here basically put all the pressure into my palm, really locking it in. This is a beautiful spot right here. So like for penetrating or whatever, you really got the leverage from these two fingers to your thumb pinching right there. So for slicing, and then when you turn it this way, it's kind of the same thing with your pinky right there. You're really locked in right there. It really holds it right there for slicing. Now getting to the tip, I don't think this is a great knife for using the tip, but you can do it. But since it's so thin behind the edge, you really get slicing capabilities out of it. And being locked in behind this little spot right there feels really good, nice and rounded. You really got a lot of leverage for slicing. And, even for push cuts. Now, the reverse grip is not going to be as good, but you see how it kind of tapers towards me? It's not like this or straight. It's actually turned towards me, which is kind of good, because if you're going to cut a rope or something, here, I'll just use my finger. If you're going to cut a rope, you want the rope to be locked in down there. You don't want the blade to be tapered this way, because the rope's just going to slip up and out. When you go to pull cut, it's just going to slip up and out. This way, it really locks it in, so the rope will actually get caught right there. So even though it's not that comfortable, it's useful. So, and that's, most usually the point. The action is really good. It fires with a bang because it has such a strong detent. So it really kicks. And then the drop, it just drops into place. And you can hear it really locking in. Listen to that detent. It's very strong. It almost feels magnetic. Now, if I turn it right here, it'll just drop. So I'm going to go from the side. It really locks in place. And it almost feels sticky. Very strong. So when you push the flipper tab, it bangs out. Now, when you unlock it, there's so much access to lock bar. I love this lock bar. One, I love the machining to it. And then the access to it is so easy. And when you unlock it, it's already past the detent, because the detent ball lands right there. You can see how much room I have to my thumb. So when you unlock it, it's already past the detent ball. but it does have a detent track or a reverse detent ramp, so you can push past it if you want to. But you really don't need to, because it's always past it when you unlock it. Now, the middle finger flicking action works really good. You get more leverage towards the bottom, but you can do it towards the top. The thumb action works really good. Now, you want to be careful with the lock bar when you're doing the reverse flick, because you can lock yourself out. If you put any pressure on this lock bar, you're not going to be able to flick it. But as long as you can find your placement with your fingers and not put it on the lock bar, it's pretty easy to do that. And then so is the thumb flick. But same thing, you want to be careful with the lock bar. But very easy. A lot of people that have trouble holding the lock bar usually go like this. It's very easy, but if you are going to put your fingers in places, I usually just find good placements for my fingers, and it works great. Now, the machining, the landing points, everything is just done so good. It does have internal stop pins, which I love. That helps. If you see them right there, that helps for getting side-to-side play, stuff like that. It works really good to make a nice, very strong lockup. And this thing's locked up very strong, especially for this drop shut action. It is on bearings, and it's very, very smooth. Like I said, I really love this lock bar and the way it's machined. If you look at the edges, you'll see they're like machined, like almost, it's not polished, but you'll see them shine right here. See that? It's all around the edge. Even right here. See how it plays with the light? It's a different finish than the face. Very well done. It does have the lanyard hole. And then the clip. The clip doesn't sit that deep. So, it's very nice and centered. Awesome knife, amazing action. I like a lot of things about this. The machining of this knife, like I said, it feels like it was built from NASA. What don't I like? What do I think is bad? And then I'm going to get to some more things that I like. But one thing, this flipper tab, it's kind of like a hinder flipper tab. It's almost like a hook. Like, it's pokey right there. And coupled with that very strong detent, it's kind of like flipping a hinder. Yes, it has a nice landing spot, but it's sharp. So you almost want to hook it like this and flip it rather than going like this. If you go like that, it kind of gets pokey. You do get used to it, and you get used to not putting your fingers on the lock bar, because the more pressure you put on the lock bar, the worse it is. But yeah, it's a little sharp. The next thing is the clip. Now, the clip, it goes in and out of the pocket just fine. I didn't really carry it. It's not that deep. But my biggest issue is two things. One, it sits off of the scale. I don't usually like that. There's not, I mean, it goes in and out of the pocket just fine, but I don't like that tap. The next thing is when you go to do the reverse flick, for my hands, my finger, like, messes around in this hole, and it does get a little sharp. And it's like every time when I go to middle finger flick it, I find my finger messing around in that damn hole, and I don't really like that. I try to find other places for my finger, but it's either right there, like it's somewhere sharp right around this clip. And I've tried to manipulate it where I just don't do that, but I do find that happening a lot. Even if I'm like this, it just kind of aggravates the side of my finger right there. Now, I could say this, which this isn't a big deal. The reverse detent track, it does have one. It could have a little bit deeper one. If you don't put no pressure on the lock bar, though, it's not bad. But that's me really, really nitpicking right there. The last thing, the lanyard tube or lanyard hole, I like the color. I like the pop of color. I think it looks beautiful. but I don't really like it. Like in the hand, it's just going to keep rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, which isn't that big of a deal because I just find myself going like this, or it's not rubbing at all. But eventually the finish is going to rub off right there from flicking it. You can see that's already kind of changing color a little bit, turning less vibrant. But the machining of it is incredible. I love the hardware on this thing. There's big hardware everywhere, even on the lock bar insert, which I forgot to mention. This thing has a steel lock bar insert and over travel stop, which is awesome. I love that. Like I said, this lock bar is amazing. This jipping right here is very well done. It feels very good in the hand. It looks sharp, but it's perfect. There's not a lot of bad here. Pretty much anything I complain about is nitpicking. The biggest things to me is the flipper tab and then this clip. I'm just not fond of them. They kind of irritate my hand, and like I said, this does get pokey. I've gotten used to it, but you know, I noticed it right off the bat, just like I noticed this right off the bat. And I've just kind of gotten used to it since. But this knife is, the machining and the quality of this thing is insane. Everything is just done to perfection. I guess you just call it a D-shaped pivot is really nice. The centering is perfect. Everything is done so well. Now, the only other thing I could really complain about is that this little front choil area right here. Now, if I'm holding right here, I'm locked in. Like, really nice. Locked in perfect. But if I want to put my finger up there, which I know this is not a finger choil, so I'm not saying it is, but it's just not that comfortable right there. Now, I tend to do push cuts like this, so I don't have no problem doing it like that, or just going back here and doing them. But if I really want leverage, I'm going to go over that flipper tab just like that. That's not really that big of a deal, but when I'm holding it like this, it just doesn't feel comfortable right there. But like I said, I know it's not a finger choil, but it just doesn't feel comfortable. Now, the machining on it, everything is done great. It's nice and smooth, chamfered very nicely. Yeah. So what I like the most is I love the taper of this flat grind. It's such a beautiful grind. The ergos are really good. The lock bar is just amazing. The machining on it is incredible. The action's nice, you know, aside from the pokey flipper tab. But it's great action, and you do get used to it. Yeah, the machining is insane. And yeah, I do really like this knife, and I think it's an amazing knife. But, you know, just even with all knives, I'm going to find something bad on it, obviously. And, you know, those one things that I was talking about, yeah, they're nitpicks, but then they're also not. You know, you're talking about a $720 knife. At least that's what I found it for. So for $720... you know, it's you tend to be a little more picky with things. And the one thing, man, I just really wish that flipper tab wasn't so pokey. Now, would I learn to just deal with it? Is it a deal breaker? No, not at all. Not at all. On this thing is also very, very nice. Magnetic box, very well done. It's nice to see good packaging. Eric, thank you for letting me check this beautiful, beautiful knife out. I'm hoping to get to hang on to it for like another week. I want to get a couple more videos out of it. I don't know the next time I'll get to experience or get to handle one of these, so I'd love to get a couple more videos out of it if you don't mind. I guess I'll get up with you later. Thank you, Eric. I love you guys. Peace.